Thank you once again, Cubby. Game 2 coming right at you. And gotta say, I'm hoping for another couple bangers here in this series. I know we've got a 1-0 UofT up against the wall, with their backs against the wall at least, and trying to take another game, trying not to get knocked out here in the round of 16. But Purdue able to come clutch when it mattered, take some seriously nice team fights, objective control around the map, and pressure around the map into a win over UofT in that first game.
If that first game was any indication, we're going to get an absolute banger of a series of 40 minutes. We had team fights go all the way into Elder Drake territory. It was kind of crazy. Again, I feel like early game needs to be a bit proactive from both of these teams, and there's improvements to be made. But man, taking it into these late game team fights, literally, it's just fractions. It's little tiny movements that end up coming out that make all the difference within these team fights. And that's stuff that can be fixed. And that's going to come out really heavily, I think, in game number 2 between these two teams.
And I wonder what differences we see in the draft, if Morgana is going to be a priority yet again, as we will be diving into this second game draft. We'll see how that does work out earlier on, especially those bans. I want to see if we still see that solo lane focus, especially from Purdue, trying to get some tools away from 527. 527 still got the Aurelia, wasn't able to pull it out clutch in some of those fights, and unfortunately does go down in that first game. But do you keep that confidence? Do you keep that build up there for UofT, as we don't have a switch up of sides? Purdue still on the blue side, UofT on the red.
Yeah, I think the important thing is there are champions, like the best example I have is actually Gangplank. If you replace Gangplank with Aurelia in that comp with the same amount of damage, it's so much harder to play from the side of Purdue because of the ultimate, the barrels, and things like that. And that's why Purdue is putting so much focus into making sure 527 doesn't have that. When you have to play this melee carry, this Aurelia in the laning phase where you stall out with Sion, and then playing in a late game where you have to get into backline and kill off some of these threats like Arch and like Kerp in this backline, it's so difficult. You saw that 527 put in a lot of work, but not quite enough because it's just like that range disadvantage was there. It's really hard to make sure that that's going to go in your favor. And that's why Purdue is putting so much pressure to make sure UofT doesn't have that possibility. I also love the little nod they have to the TF. Again, the flexibility of Little Frost into mid lane. Yeah, you'll love that one. They're not letting that mid lane swap come through anytime soon.
All right, so the bans we got, Purdue sticking with a lot of the same from that first game. Jace, GP, TF. UofT on the other side do ban away the Lulu from last game, but also that Rumble, the Lee Sin that we saw banned away last time around. Nidalee is the first pick for Purdue, going with an aggressive jungle, somebody that can skirmish, somebody that can snowball, but needs to be executed properly on.
Clam is one of the better Nidalees, I think, that we've got. I know our desk talked about how he was considered by some to be one of the best junglers at the tournament, if not the best jungler at the tournament. I think Clam gets a lot of praise for very good reason for being an exceptional player, and this is a champion he's played in the past. However, the challenge is issued for this earlier stage of the game. We said we wanted some more early action, and what would you know? We get ourselves a Xin Zhao into the Nidalee.
Yeah, it's not the Morgana. It's going to be a little bit different this time around for Donkey, but a little bit more agency in that fashion as well. I actually haven't gotten to cast at least on a stage of a Xin Zhao just yet. Never gets really picked up unless it's going to be a comfort pick or something that you feel is really strong in a specific matchup. So we'll see how that goes for Donkey this time around. I'm really liking the tools that are being picked up for Purdue right now. Zoe has been just popping off, first of all on the international stage, but everywhere else as well by very talented players. And the Jinx also comes in for Purdue.
Priority this quickly on Zoe only comes from real tried and true Zoe players, and Holy Kerp is nothing if not a tried and true Zoe player alongside Nidalee, which is like one of Clam's favorites. Those are two amazing picks to throw something in. And what would you know? This is the flex pick that comes through every time we see when we have the rotation from Little Frost into mid lane or something like that. We don't know if that's going to happen, but Defref is a huge Swain player out of the mid lane, trying to pull something tankier to punish this Zoe out of the mid lane here from Holy Kerp.
I love it. We're getting spice here in this second game. UofT take away the Zins, or take the Zins out, and the Swain. I'm really excited to see how the Swain works out. Honestly, a little questioning on how the rest of my brain is questioning itself on how the rest of this composition pans out for UofT, as they do still have some very strong pieces to pick up. They still need to get that ADC unless they're running the Swain ADC, which would be interesting itself right now in the meta. We do get similar focuses that we saw in game number 1 in the second phase of bans, though, Rebel. We get the Camille banned away and the Sion from UofT, so don't want to deal with that top lane from Valley last time, soloing out their ADC over and over again. The Gnar ban and the Samira sneaks through on the ban table for Purdue this time.
think Kai'Sa's got to be the pick here for a number of different reasons. But if they want to get aggressive, like Samira was on the table potentially, I'd be really shocked if they did this, unless they're trying to flex like Defree into bottom lane. I'm trying to think like whether they could flex like Karma into like the bottom position. I feel like you pick AD here because you already saw AD. Unless they've got something really spicy planned here, you don't go for something like that. But obviously 527 wants his hands on that Renekton to get aggressive during the laning phase, canceled out already by the likes of that Shen that's going to be paired to make aggression across the map. I feel like that's a great pick from Purdue, and UofT might have overplayed their hand right there. Now they just have to go for ADC. So unless there's some real flexing going on right now, could be some trouble brewing here for UofT.
I need like something. I need something wild. I need this last pick to be the biggest brain galaxy pick you've ever seen, Rebel, because the composition for Purdue is stacked. They've gotten the Shen now, global support. They've also got the Nautilus, which has been so strong. Just the CC chains that you can level down onto a composition like UofT have, where they're lacking a lot of range and they're lacking a lot of that engage, or at least the peel back from it. But we'll see. It is the Kai'Sa last pick, Rebel.
You just take Kai'Sa at R4 and then you wait and give yourself counter pick. Like if they pick Renekton, you have counter picks to come in, and if they don't pick Renekton, then like you pick Renekton at anything you want anyway. It just, I don't really get why that came through.
We don't need your logic here, okay? We don't need your logic.
That's fair.
It's not. We don't need that here. It's too. I was gonna say it's too early for that, but it's like 1:16, so I can't really say that.
It's 3 p.m. for me, so like it's literally the middle of the day. It's past the middle of the day. Anyhow, the idea from UOT that I saw coming into this one was the possibility of what would be effectively like a death ball, where you throw like Xin Zhao in, you throw Seiko mode in, you do all these things, and you end up in those positions where you're just fighting forward constantly. Renekton is more for lane dominance, and then can be a little bit of a front line, some damage to put onto a lot of squishy members here on the side of Purdue. But again, if you're going to run that, I feel like a counter pick top laner or something that could put more pressure into backline would have been humongous to consider on the back end of this one. I know Jace is available my apologies, Jace was banned away. My apologies on that one. But again, I feel like there were better top lane picks. But all in all, this is a much earlier spiking composition from UofT. You don't want to see them go to 40 minutes or something like that without a sizable lead. And Xin Zhao is going to get active early. Xin Zhao's Swain is super hard to fight in the 2v2. You combine that with a Kai'Sa, all of a sudden this fighting gets a lot ramped up much faster into the game, where they're going to try to increase the tempo from what we saw last time.
And I do still feel like we have a lot of lane bullying, a lot of lane presence that can occur for both sides, right? The lanes are going to be very volatile. But for me, we put a little bit of focus on it last time around, but I think this time around it's going to be more so because both these junglers are looking to snowball. And you're looking to try to get that skirmishing going early on. You're looking to try and affect the pathing of the enemy jungle here and try to get under their skin in some way. And I do feel like Clam, we've talked a lot about the props that we've given to this player, but being on this Nidalee, you have a lot of onus to scout out, be that predator, if you will, against the Xin Zhao and find those early advantages. You have to look for that skirmish. You have to look for the team play potentially coming from the lanes for UofT, I feel like, to really let Donkey be successful early on.
Yeah, so right now, like, it seems like UofT have set themselves up with like a powerful clearing top laner with Renekton, who should be able to shove in Shen for the most part. Same in mid lane, where like Zoe's got a good wave clear, but it's really difficult to try to poke out Swain after like first back, second back, that kind of territory. And then with like a Karma with a double range bottom lane into Nautilus, there's possibility that you get pushing there to allow Xin Zhao to attack into Clam really consistently over the course of this one. So keep your eyes on that coming through. And for Clam on the other side, it feels like you have to play to your lanes really heavily. You've got great CC in your Shen and in flawed logic, especially at level 6 when Shen can start to join you, and then even the bubble follow-up between the two poke abilities on the side of Kerp and Clam, you can go really, really hard in on top of members who lose a really heavy amount of their health bar, which is going to happen relatively consistently in the confines of this game. Clam is going to be pushing a lot of the pacing for Purdue here, and their lanes are just going to be sitting, waiting for some of that effect to come through. It still feels like a bit of a later scaling composition where Purdue's wanting to go a bit later, and their skirmishing, their early presence really is just dictated where Clam is going to end up on the map.
Yeah. And I guess that leads me to the next discussion, which is typical for League of Legends these days, is that objective control. We saw both teams really fighting over those objectives. We got to 7 dragons. Didn't get the Elder Dragon, unfortunately, but that comes for this game. But I do still want to see where that kind of leads us to, and especially the start for both of these junglers, because I think that early dragon, again, can give you all that pressure you're looking for. We saw how good Purdue were once they got that objective flow going, and they could push and pull around the map, pulling that Baron, pulling the Rift Herald plays, things like that. And I think that's going to be also really important for this one.
For this game, like U of T, honestly, like if this game plays out properly, they should pull 2 dragons and they should pull Rift Herald almost immediately off the map, just because of just purely what champions they're running right now. You've got a ton of early stats. You've got like extra health bars to run with. You've got shields all over the place to work with. Your flat stats alone are enough to just bully out the opposing team. Purdue can't move for anything really convincingly without having a pick or something like that. So unless Nidalee does find success in some of the lanes, feels like early objective control is going to go heavily to the side of UOT. So again, it feels like Purdue, all of this pacing that's going to come through is completely contingent on Clam. They're putting a lot on this jungler, which is fair. We called him one of the best at the tournament for a very specific reason, because he is one of the best at the tournament. And our expectations are high in this game, because if they get off to a bad foot, if all of a sudden Clam gets aggressed against by the likes of these Yin Zhao and you start losing in the early game, this team bleeds and it's kind of difficult to come back in, because it is a bit more of a team fighting team come the later stages, minus those cross map plays from like Nidalee and from Shen at the same time. But those aren't going to have too much of an effect in the later stages. So if the early advantage goes to UofT, they're going to be in a really solid place when they control those objectives, and you don't have to worry about that scaling as much.
Yeah, you said the one word that sticks out to me, the T word, the team fight word. I'm really excited to see how these teams kind of come together, because we got to see a slobber knocker in game number 1. It was going the distance. We were having team fights all over the place. This time around, I feel like there's a little bit lower of a ceiling for UofT to execute their composition. They just got to run at people and smack them really hard over and over again. To an extent, it's just my
you're right.
But the fact of the matter is, like, both these teams are set up a little bit better for themselves in those team fights. So I'm really looking for those explosive, those positionings from the ADCs that were so crucial last game around are going to be just the same in this one.
Yeah. Now, I will say it is a little difficult for the side of UofT to try to find super aggressive engages, only because, like, who is doing that? It's like Renekton can, like, double E in with, like, Karma Shield, or you got, like, Swain can press his ultimate. So it's really difficult to find a pure engage into somebody. It's more pick tools and things that work really heavily inside of skirmishes. So if we get into late game territory, all of a sudden, UofT's composition is very hard to execute unless you've got control of River already, which, again, bodes into this narrative of, okay, what needs to happen for UofT is they have to control early and control River, so they can be the first one in an objective. That way, if a team tries to push in to take said objective, be it Dragon or be it Baron, all of a sudden you don't have to use like some big engagement, some Ornn ultimate. You can just turn out of the pit and slowly meander way into the enemy team, because they have to get close enough to contest.
And I think for me, the thing that stands out for UofT is, like, once they're engaged on, like, I feel like they're fine in the fight, right? You can get the Xin Zhao ulti separating and also, nullifying a lot of the damage that's going to be coming through. You got Demonic Ascension, so, like, as they're fine getting engaged on to an extent, right? Not getting picked out, but a full-on engage where they can kind of pull their triggers and have that fight, that sustain in it. So I'm really excited to see how this second game is going to pan out, because I think that there's a lot of differences from that first game, but still some similarities, still some comfort there for both teams.
Also notice, if you will, that Purdue didn't necessarily pick a bunch of engage, because they've got like Nautilus and they've got Shen who can do that. But more so, you're looking at Zoe and you're looking at Nidalee and you're like, wow, Spears and Paddle Stars, those are going to hit really, really hard. Yeah, oh my, Spears and Paddle Stars, oh my. It's crazy. But the poke is there so that they don't have to fully engage into this team if you don't want to. You can just kind of pester them with a bunch of little skill shots to be thrown in then and again. And so that's where Purdue's got. Purdue's got a little bit of everything. They can go for some poke, they can go for some pick, they can go for team fighting in the later stages. They've got a bunch of ways to play out this game. And again, I keep coming back to this point of Clam has a lot of that agency, and that's because our importance is really heavily onto him. Although they are going for a level 1 right here. The first one we've seen actually, I think on stream legitimately.
Both teams are going to run into each other. Level ones.
Oh,
I
they see each other?
Highlight the observing to start it off. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. But we're getting the engage here. Flawed Logic has already found one. 527's already down. They get the trade back. Donkey's getting low. The bird's going to be enough. That's going to be a second kill given over to Purdue. Flashing away is Def Ref and Little Frosty going to save theirs. Can they get the pullback? A lot of damage done, but blood early on. We didn't get nothing for the early game of game number 1. They flipped the script in game number 2.
It took us, I think 18, 19 whole minutes just to get a decent team fight. It ended up in 1 kill, and it took us 30 minutes to get a full 5-on-5 around the Dragon, and they just say, nuts to that, we're doing the 5-on-5 early. Great pathing for Purdue to come into the bottom brush and get this angle with Flawed Logic's Nautilus to find this fantastic hook, multiple kills, including onto the opposing jungler, and Summoner spelled put on a number of different members here. Huge from Purdue to find this counter level 1 to what it was attempted here from the side of UofT. This is pressure that they can pull off the map. These summoner spells slow down the early pacing, which is fantastic to make sure that Purdue can stay alive and stay relevant inside the early phase against this earlier game team from Toronto.
And the fact of the matter is that you've got a kill on Clam. And Nidalee getting kills early is never what you like to see. Those spears going to be hurting real bad, but we'll see how that kind of works out as Clam going to be starting on the top side of the map with Donkey on the bot side. Yes, Rebel.
What's going on with the Karma build right now? There's no starting item. It's just the fairy charm.
Panic and things like that could happen.
It's a little strange. It's unorthodox. We knew that there was going to be a flex here because obviously that's what they do with the Swain pick is they put it in support and that's going to be Defra. Okay, immediately no flash. He might just go down again.
So it's because Little Frosty is in mid lane.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
I figured that. But like also a fairy charm.
I figured I would throw, just give you the information, Rebel.
That's reasonable.
I have to say, I'm really impressed with Flawed Logic's play already in the bot side, just aggressing as this Nautilus, constantly looking for those dredge lines and making them. And against a composition, especially the duo in bot lane that is Kai'Sa and Swain, they're looking to poke. They're looking to kind of get that damage down on you early. You can't do that when you're just getting full-on engaged on by a Jinx and Nautilus over and over.
We can talk about a fair amount of the synergy between these two because both these players were players that started on the club team actually from the side of Purdue and then they got risen to the varsity squad together. So that's why there's like such inherent synergy between these two and they're both fantastic players as you've seen time and time again a number of times where these two, even against Columbia College in the Northern Conference where they won that 3-0, this combination was one of the more lethal ones against some of the better players that you saw, some of the previous players that were considered some of the best in the country in Columbia College. So this team has had a lot of testing and you've seen time and time again their abilities. Flawed Logic, why you gotta do that to me?
He's just looking for the flex, all right? No! He's gonna go down. Defref gets the kill. That's so unfortunate. It doesn't matter though because everything's working out for UofT. They've got what they needed to. I will say we got an update. Apparently there was a little bit of miscommunication there. Little Frosty did start support item, had to sell it immediately to go to that mid lane, but it doesn't matter. Because bot lane's working out just fine. Defref has 2 kills. They're going to lose top lane, though. 527 gets solo killed by Valley. Valley now trying to run away from Donkey, who showed up a litlittle bit too late for the 0-2 Renekton. And Valley can actually just take this. Like, this is so much damage coming out from the Shen. Maybe just the TP now coming in from 527. Clam was here just in case. They might still go for this fight. This is very aggressive play coming out from Purdue.
That it is. And thankfully, not going to get muscled off this wave either is Valley, because down a fair amount of farm, even if this crashes and you just deny all these minions, that's probably 15 so CS, which is it's roughly equivalent to the kill. So the only thing you really got in that situation would have been the TP. But thankfully, because Nidalee was able to make her way back up to the top side of the map and Clam was able to cover here, Shen walks back into lane and is able to catch a handful of those minions, prevent the wave from crashing and denying all that CS. I don't know what happened in terms of the one-on-one to cost that. Wow, these hooks. They're so good.
Yeah, it's just too much. Flawed Logic gets the CC into the traps. The Chompers going to be too much to handle for Defref.
That's what happens when you hit the hook instead of like missing and hitting the wall behind
your
tower.
He has the right to miss one, all right?
Yeah, it did cost him his life, but I agree. You're allowed to miss skill shots. That's perfectly acceptable. But that's the one mistake that's been made in this lane. And even better, the cooler part is like the initial kill in that 5-on-5 went to Defref, and then of course the kill on the bottom side actually gave Shutdown gold over, and it gave it over to his support. It was Arch that was able to actually fang that one. So this Jinx starts off this game with 2 kills, including a shutdown and assist. He's down a little bit of CS to Seco mode, but that's about it. Really good start already for this bottom lane that is so pivotal here to the side of Purdue.
And we talked about in the draft that we want to see UofT take this early dragon, take the first 2 off the board early on. They do have it spawned. Donkey down this way, going to steal away some chicken nuggets. But there is a Cloud Dragon on the table, and I would like to see them transition to that. Flawed Logic might have found Donkey here, just trying to get around the chickens. Donkey goes in on the Holy Curb, but there's the Stand United as well. Donkey in some trouble here. Not going to go through. It's the Stand United was stopped in the top lane. But the fight's still going. Def Ref has to flash away. Def Ref going down to killing spree. Valley gets stopped in the Stand United only to take the 1v1 and flex on 527. And now Purdue are non-stop pressuring this team of UofT.
This is the early game expectation I had from the side of Purdue. Seiko Mode is here with Hail of Blades to potentially put pressure on. Can they find something? Oh, that Q from Karma's the slow.
That's going to be a nice Sleepy Trouble bubble there to stop Seiko Mode. Almost goes down. There's the... Oh, it was so close. Both of them. Clam almost gets the kill onto Seiko Mode. Seiko Mode almost gets the kill onto Arch, but nothing going to go down.
Oh. And Kerp thankfully also dodged that W. This is like
holy Kerp.
Everything is Frosty. Oh,
it's like
my
on
goodness.
a knife's edge here in the mid lane right now. This is poking going back and forth, and no full-on fight's gonna happen.
Not quite yet. But again, the roaming that came through still gets another kill onto Arch before massive backs end up coming through. Thankfully, Seiko Mode's able to match that by having like that blade or that quiver to come out to start with in terms of starting items. But more and more kills come into Jinx, and Arch is really good inside of the team fighting phase with Jinx able to position really aggressively when you have that advantage. This should be a game that's going heavily in the early game. Oh no, that's
spotted
real bad.
out.
Okay.
Oh, Clam looking for it. Donkey has some support here, but so does Clam. Donkey doesn't know where to go. Donkey gets executed as Clam gets the kill, pops the INTZ emote, and that will be all she wrote. 7-3 now early on for Purdue. They're getting collapsed on a little bit here, but immediate heads-up play from Clam as soon as he saw Donkey taking that blue buff.
And we see across the map again, it's a ton of pressure by Clam, a couple of plays onto the bottom side that have been led to by flawed logic, even though he's dying, giving kills over to his top laner, and a couple of solo kills for Shen have given so much early game. This all started with Donkey, goes for a rapid invade. I actually really like this because you have the advantage in terms of numbers. This is what happened on top side. You see the ultimate comes through from Shen, no ultimate ready for 527 as this fight continues, and it looked really good actually from the side of UofT, but Clam's entrance as well as Arch is too much damage to deal with. Def Ref gets run down. Valley gets this kill because, again, no level 6 on your Renekton, being that far down and a ton of armor already for that Shen means it's impossible for the Renekton to win out in that 1v1 early into the stages of the game, especially after that initial solo kill to come through. So already, again, Purdue striking much faster. They're striking in the right places, so Valley has complete control of topside. Clam's going to have a ton of pressure with a bunch of AP to begin the game, and your late game insurance with Arch is also going online very, very quickly. Big props to Purdue changing up a lot of their game plan and coming out with a much faster pace than what we saw in game number 1.
Very much so, and you have to appreciate the change going in from game 1 to game 2. It will be UofT that are looking at this first Rift Herald, first objective of the game in actuality, and not what we were looking for, at least when we were setting this up. We were looking for a lot of that early objective control, but we've had a lot of skirmishes, a lot of blood go down early on, more so than that first game. And I would like to see this Rift Herald used pretty well. They are going to get the combo on Arch, and Arch is already down as Seiko Mode able to get the kill on that one. That CC chain, the plasma stacks all way too much. Stand United now coming in. Def Ref getting very low. Goes golden, but might have just doomed himself as Valley does a ton of damage here. And Valley's now on a killing spree. This Shen is unstoppable wherever they go.
Now, I'm not going to pin this to draft, right? Because they picked Renekton at R4, and like Shen is a fantastic champion to pick not only into Renekton for a number of reasons to stall the laning phase, the early damage, and everything like that, but Valley's also playing immaculately right now. The solo kill plays across the map exactly what the Shen was intended to do. Yes, you're losing some place. Yes, you're losing some gold on the top side to 527, but the way your map is going, it's not going to matter. This Renekton is not going to be able to put on the pressure that it needs to win a game. This is like a Gangplank or a Gase or something like that, pulling a bunch of this gold. This is a Renekton. This is a fantastic setup. Yeah, Def Ref out of vision. Nothing much that Arch could do right there. I do like that they call for the Shen ultimate right here. I was expecting the dash, but once the Zonias came through, Def Ref had basically sealed his fate, unfortunately. Yeah. Almost gets the trade, but Seiko Mode knows that if he steps up, he's going to get taunted and died as well. So instead, just clears the wave and walks away. Appreciate that from Seiko Mode. So just the 1v1 on the bottom side here.
Yeah, that tower shot, maybe the difference maker, made him think that he needed to pop the stopwatch, but not going to save the life that time around. And we did get a potential on bot side there. Clan did make his way as well as Donkey, but they didn't find anything there. So the junglers will just continue to clear as much as they can. You did get a reset there from Lil Frosty in the mid lane. but we'll see the transition of pressure towards top lane now. And I do wonder if we see Donkey try to answer some of the pressure that Valley has had. I feel like you know, they always talk about attacking the global pressures, attacking the strong point on the map, and especially like trying to shut it down. But Valley is so far ahead now, is so tanky on the Shen. And if you're trying to throw a Renekton and a Jin Zhao up to that, like, it's going to be a lot harder task than normal.
And you think, like, Renekton's not going to do much for your comp. Karma's probably not going to do much for your comp. Honestly, attacking bot side, making sure that the Swain and this... Oh, this is kind of rough. Okay. Actually, dodge out on the skill shots really well. Nicely. So well, actually. And especially with Rift Herald take, they have to back completely off of bot lane. That was a little bit kind of messed up there from the side of Purdue, who now have to rush back and make sure they can defend mid lane. It's not going to be a take of anything more than just 3 plates, which I think is a bit of a mishap, only because that Rift Herald feels like it could have gotten so much more. But big respect right there, because UOT's bot lane, they pull off quickly. They don't allow any of the dive fools to come through, and then they deny any additional plate taking on bottom side and pull 3 plates for their jungler and their mid laner. So that's huge. Really nicely played right there by Seiko Mode and DefRef.
Great map movement coming out from UofT right now at this 12-minute mark, and feels really good to kind of calm things down a little bit for them after giving up all that blood early on. They're still able to get these lanes under wraps, get some farm down, but Flawed Logic doesn't want to let that happen. Demonic Ascension comes out. Seiko Mode's on the back. There's the TP. DefRef out with the flash. Seiko Mode has to use the Killer Instinct.
Nice.
Valley's here first. 527 is on the ADC, but it's not going to be enough in time. You've got a little Frosty down here too. The fight is so split, but 527 is caught out, dragged out, dead. And Lil Frosty's going to be the next target here. Valley doing so much damage. There's the taunt. There's the damage. Not going to get it, but it's the turnaround. Valley goes down and shut down a Donkey. Donkey's in the fight. Donkey gets another kill. Donkey is popping off right now. And UofT have gotten a triple kill for their jungler and take the fight with Arch, only the one left.
Okay. This is what we're talking about from UOT. When we talk about them having earlier game composition, it's just flat stats. They're not doing this incredible stuff. This wasn't a gold advantage. They were down a ton of gold coming into this fight, but instead they collapse in the 5-on-5. They use a number of these tools to make sure that everything comes through. This Shen ultimate was terrifying. So you're going to see the initial pick onto DefRef, but watch also the Shen ultimate's going to come through eventually here onto Arch to make sure Seiko Mode has nothing. And I was terrified that was going to be the execution of this bot lane. And thankfully, Renekton's actually able to shove Arch out of this fight entirely, forcing the flash eventually and not able to get anything. I love the W there from Seiko Mode trying to get into that back lane. Flawed Logic ends up, I think, taking quite a bit of damage. But more importantly, Karma stays alive. We're waiting for the entrance of Xin Zhao because right now the health bars just are not there. But look at the health on Purdue. Everybody down so much, and allows Donkey to just go target to target to target, throw the ultimate out, deny some damage, and just continue rushing through this fight, allowing his backline to continue throwing some extra damage. And big stuff from Donkey, being able to carry this one, being the frontliner for his team, and saving this 5-on-5 team fight from utter destruction.
Absolutely. That Crescent Guard is huge as well in the middle of that fight, just keeping a lot of the damage down that was going to hit. And I just think the execution in that one was huge. It was very, very neck and neck, though, right? Like, Arch is the only one left. There were a couple of autos maybe going different ways that changed that fight completely. And it's a lot of semblance to what we saw in game number 1. These fights go either way. It's just about who is executing at the right moment.
Plays like that are also an absolute necessity from Toronto because, again, their composition doesn't scale as well. It's harder to play into the later stages. When you can find moments like that to find these clustered 5-on-5s, especially around bot lane, where there isn't too much risk in losing a ton off the map other than maybe a bit of bot tower health, there's nothing really heavily to risk right there. So I love that UofT take a low-risk, high-reward play, end up getting out of that one unscathed. Not giving over shutdowns either is really, really big. This Renekton is basically scrapped for the later stages because it went down very early in that fight.
The shield came out of the last second for Lil Frosty. That was huge.
Insanely close, but thankfully not going to worry about that one too heavily. Dragon looks like the focus from both teams. Oh, they got Arch!
The focus is Arch, and Arch gets the Stand United to help out, saves the fight, doesn't get the damage down, though. DefRef gets the kill on the Arch. Then you have the TP coming in from Holy Kerp. Gets the Drowsy there as DefRef going to go down eventually. Donkey doesn't go down, but DefRef will to Holy Kerp. And this is another Dragon up on the board with 4 members down here from Purdue. You got to think that's the second objective for themselves.
They pulled too much off the map at the time. So at the time, 527 was ready to make a play onto top lane, but they're not worried about Renekton getting too much. So once Little Frosty backs, I don't know why it is that UofT tries to make an aggressive play into bottom side. It looked like maybe they were slow playing into the river to try to set up for a dragon. This is the play that led to it, which is Little Frosty taking a ridiculous amount of health. Strikebreaker was popped there somewhere in the middle. That huge bubble is great. Look at that combination of poke. Oh! Clam didn't hit the javelin.
Yeah,
if he hits,
so
that's
close.
an execution. This rocket's also huge right here because it almost hits, but like you said, the shield comes back up. But they force right here, which is strange because they are not going to have Karma on the map anytime soon. The teleport isn't available whatsoever, so they go for this play onto Arch, but cross-map plays across the board. It's the Shen does end up going down, does Arch, but Shen's up in the bottom side, and Xin Zhao gets chased away by Clam, who's able to actually find some addition. But everybody's here onto the bottom side of the map already. No Karma to respond, no Renekton to respond. Everybody was here from Purdue. They're not letting the same thing that happened last time happen yet again, and they're going to pull both the fight and the dragon off the board. So nicely played from Purdue, putting everybody and all their pieces together, and they don't really care about trading off Renekton's top lane pressure, whatever that might be, giving away the tower, because Renekton's not that valuable here for UofT.
So UofT now have taken 2 towers. They got the first tower there on 527. They also get the mid tower with the Rift Herald charge, so at least utilizing that objective nicely. They are down those 2 dragons that we said early on. We want them to have the 2 dragons. Well, the story has changed, and they need to kind of get back in the driver's seat there in terms of objectives. We do have the Ocean Soul on the Rift, so that's going to be a nice one for both these teams to really set themselves up in these sieges. As we talk about it, Little Frosty having a little trouble in the mid lane, trying to dodge out from these, from all these things being thrown at him. Feels like we're in the movie Dodgeball, but we'll see if he can find a way to be effective on this Karma.
Notice also, if everybody will, again, typically Defref is the mid laner. That's who we saw in the previous game. That's who we see most games. It's the flexibility of TF and then also apparently champions like this for Karma that Frosty is able to move into the mid lane that allows them to play the Swain pick, which is so important, which is having some okay success, has a number of damage, and is a really big contributor to some of the disadvantage that comes in fights. Donkey is going to look for a flank here onto Arch. That's a really good situation. This could be just a tower take. I think it's just a trade, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful, though, because excited is a thing.
Here.
You do get Donkey on the back, but yeah, Little Frosty's completely caught out. There's the Crescent Guard, but it does not matter. Dominus was actually popped by 527, so maybe thinking they wanted to fight. Seiko Mode's on the back here, too. I'm a little concerned right now. It goes in with the Gale Force, gets the kill, but can't get out. There's the Killer Instinct plus the Flash. Oh, no, but that's too good. The Javelin hits. Holy Curb gets the kill. Def Rep in the middle of everybody. Flood Logic not going to go down. That's a paddle star to your face. And a double kill for Holy Curb.
I was extremely concerned right there because that was very aggressive from Arch to just run in on top when you know there's 2 people around you, but has the Shen ultimate. Valley allows these very aggressive plays to come through, doesn't end up losing the life, and the rest of the team's there for support. So another fantastic rotation from Purdue to find aggression into this bottom lane, reclaiming this gold lead, pushing down mid tower, pushing down bot as well. All of this kind of flooding into their inventory is, like you said, also the 2 dragons means they control most things across the map at this moment. This was a defense I really expected a lot, but Arch just says, all right, let's go. Shen throws the ultimate in. Xin Zhao almost pulls this kill, but look, everybody on the side of Purdue is here much faster than everybody else. No damage is here because Kai'Sa and Swain are most of your damage. They had to come out of mid lane here. It is a nice flank from Seiko Mode, I will say that. I would have loved to see a Prey Seeker come out to try to get him an ultimate to the other side, but the Gale Force was enough to get the kill. I thought it was also going to make the great escape.
This
I think
javelin,
maybe should have gone the other way.
God.
Yeah. Really nice
so
javelin. And from here, the fight's over. There's no consistent damage. Defref can try. Flawed Logic almost goes down, but like even if you lose that, it's still like a 4 for 2 in the end game, and it's still a very heavy win for Purdue, who continues to find these fight wins because of this gold that they've accrued in the earlier stages.
It's looking really good for Purdue, at least in the fights. The movement around the map, UofT trying to find something to scrape back for themselves. They're doing decently well at not keeping this lead too heavy. Paddle Star plus the Javelin and the Mega Death Rocket just for a little bit of fireworks on top of it. Doesn't even hit, doesn't even need it. Purdue get another kill onto Def Ref.
Oh, that's painful. See, the Zoe has Ludens and also is going to have what is Horizon Focus. And
they got a bunch of books, stacking. Rebel.
They have a lot of books on this team, and there's a lot of damage. And there's no one really to soak it either. If Karma's not around to throw a shield on you, if you get hit by Javelin or by Paddle Star, you're out of a fight for the most part. They're going to take an attempt. They still have this early goal potential from the side of UOT. They're going to the pit.
They're going on to Clam. Clam's already down.
Arch is
Shut
done.
down. Seco mode on the back here.
Nice.
They've already found 2, and those are big kills for 527. Can't find Holy Kurt, but they might find Valley. Valley's really strong, though. You don't want to go for that 1v1 necessarily, as Valley is going to take the damage on Donkey. Donkey almost chases there, almost gets the kill. Would it be close? That's it. Donkey gets the kill. They turn it onto the Baron immediately as huge plays to turn around the game, gain the gold lead for themselves as UofT are not going down quietly.
When they're pressed into the pit like that, it's really simple for the side of UofT to find these team fights that they're looking for because they don't have to have these massive engages. We talked about that before the game started, and right there, because everyone's pinched together, you find immediate plays into Clam. It's harder for the poke to come through from Kerp, and everybody gets pressured onto Arch, can't even get back fast enough to make things happen, and this is potentially a turning point from UofT. They're going to grab their first dragon in the game. The Baron's going to give them a gold advantage. They could look for some additional towers. Looks like Purdue's rushing out here to try to contest them. They're not going to get the dragon. I don't even know if they're going to be able to get the fight fast enough.
Megadeth Rocket comes out again just a tad too late. Clam was right there on the other side of the pit, but not able to get the dragon, so that will be the dragon taken by UofT. Wow.
This is painful. This is painful. Yeah, watch the paddle start. I think this is okay. The Nidalee did hit. Okay, I was thinking that. I thought it was
2 out of the 3.
I thought it was Paddle Star exclusively that hit before anything else. And I was like, wow, that was a lot of damage. Watch this play over the thing. Again, this is a team that does well early in the game, whether they have gold or not. So they're taking this chance to try to 50-50 this. Clam takes way too much damage over the wall. That W is a nice addition to Donkey and the Xin Zhao pick, as you've seen time and time again. The Nautilus ultimate fantastically placed and not able to do much because the engagement was already onto Arch. And slowly this fight just decayed into chaos where across the board everybody was getting run down. Huge triple kill, also getting 527 back into this one. I thought this was going to be quadra because of the additional, but the dash wasn't there necessarily. But all those members going down off of that one, really disastrous from Purdue. What is happening
We got
now?
Donkey under tower here. Has the Crescent Guard to stop a lot of the damage out, but a little bit of overzealous here. They've gotten a tower on bot side, though. That's the tier 2 taken down by 527. Now they're taking this second tower in the mid lane. Demonic Ascension plus the Zanyas came out already for Def Ref, so not going to have that tool available to you. Seco mode is doing some serious damage in the front line. He needs to be careful, though, because his front line is very low on health indeed. And what a comeback to the state here of the game. UofT, right when we come back from the replay, is already pressing down these towers, already pushing their advantages.
Yeah, you can call UOT Sharks. I'm surprised that's not their mascot, because right there, they smelled blood in the water for even an instant as Purdue. They way overreached their bounds by getting a pick and immediately walking into the pit and losing. What is this from Donkey? Engage comps. When do you play your best engage comps with Olaf? Well,
he's the engage.
He is the engage. I mean, that's what he is on Xin Zhao, so that's showing its face right on the front of this game. It's not Olaf, but it's at least something akin. And you can see when he's the one that's the sword for this team, just swinging away at the opposition, how easy it is for him to find a lot of these plays. You saw him under tower after that replay, like you said. Really impressive stuff so far from Donkey to pull his team back into relevance so far.
Another tower taken by Purdue in the top side. Going to give that gold over to Arch, who's doing pretty well. If we could actually tab over to the gold, I want to see who's got the most right now, especially where that lead is really developing towards, because I do feel I'm honestly really happy to see for 527 at least that he's got a really big gold lead in the top lane, even though it's been a really rough early game. Now he's gonna have to take on a 1v4 here and see if that's gonna be possible. Donkey come and join. There's the TP, gonna add some numbers to the fight, and Clam immediately backs out. There's Killer Instinct. Zico's going in. We got the team fight you could have dreamed of, as they have found the fight. UofT are finding the members they need to, and the front line for Purdue is gone. Def Ref into the back line. Demonic Ascension gets the kill. That's 1. That's 2. That's going to be huge. Clam, the only member left for Purdue, and UofT just don't stop ticking.
When the thing is, like, Purdue this entire earlier phase has been able to set their feet and start throwing spears, throwing paddle stars, setting up their plays across the map, attacking these side lanes, and that went really well. When you're using the cross map, you're using this poke, you're using these early members to try to generate picks, that's working great for them. But this team fighting started to come in, and they can't win team fights even when they're far down. They're just going to win here. UofT's going to take us to game 3.
They have brought us a banger of a series. We're going to get the last Nexus Tower down here. Nobody really left except for Flawed Logic. They decide to pull off of it. They want to go for the kills, and they will back off before overcommitting to the last tower. UofT with the turnaround that you always look for. The dodge, or at least the block coming out from Lil Frosty, is going to make sure Donkey gets out.
Nothing to worry about that. Man, what a turnaround. If you had watched the first 20 minutes of the game, you would have been like, good job, Purdue. Nobody can come back from a 3,000 gold lead when you've got a poke composition like this at this point in the game. And all of a sudden, just the UNO reverse card comes out, and this team starts fighting. Look at this, though. It's another 5-on-5 cluster around multiple members, and everyone comes in. This was an interesting Gale Force that didn't quite hit onto Clam, so they weren't able to get the Nidalee kill at the beginning of this fight. But everything gets spread out, and all these melee members are able to interact with a bunch of people. And again, no feet get set by Kerp, no feet get set by Clam. Arch can't sit there and auto-attack. Everybody gets pressured the entirety of this fight, and that means that none of this poke is able to actually land on this 5-man composition that didn't do so well earlier on in the game. Like we said, when it comes to the skirmishing, it's really easy to play with a Nidalee and a Zoe and things like that. But so far, these 5-on-5s have been completely into the favor of UofT. That's exactly what this composition was designed to do.
Yeah, I love the follow-up that we're seeing from UofT. They immediately know when to go forward, and everybody joins. Everybody's up there. Everybody's in the fight. Now we have the second dragon potentially for UofT. They're just going to start it up. No response coming out from Purdue. They need to buy their time a little bit because they're looking down the barrel of a 7K gold deficit now if you are a fan of Purdue.
Yeah, and I'm going to say it also. Oh, wait. Okay. Oh, Kerp actually is in real trouble right now.
Oh, wait, gets hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble in the middle of it. That's an unfortunate coincidence there, Seiko. There's the Mega Death Rocket. Seiko gets out with the flash, and it's actually UofT who can take the fight. What is happening on my screen right now, Rebel? They take the fight. Seiko is the one that engages, but everybody on the side of Purdue falls. Valley the only one, Arch the only one. They've got minions in the bot lane. This is looking like it's going to go to a game 3.
They continue to fight in these close spaces. They're going to get run down. There's no competition right here. This is just going to be the end of the game from UofT. Purdue, they keep getting baited into these low-space jungle fights where all of these melee carries and all these little AoE damage things like the Jin Zhao ultimate, things like the Swain ultimate, and things that even like the Renekton ultimate have so much value, and they've got so much range. Like, why are they fighting in these little tiny corridors again and again? Somehow UofT, they brain control Purdue into just throwing fight after the 20-minute mark and pull this one into a game 3 competitive with our Northern Conference 3rd place team.
UofT is just sitting over there mind melding right now towards Purdue. It's like, you're going to throw this game. It's fine. You're going to throw it. You're going to throw it. And hey, we work out to where they mechanically outplay Purdue in these team fights. They know the target calling. Seiko mode is going psycho mode over here because he's just jumping in with the killer instincts, and he's able to get the kills. He's able to follow up, flashes away in that last fight, somehow survives while the rest of his team follows it up. It all works out beautifully for UofT, and now we get to go to game 3. Hashtag banger. We'll hear more about this series so far on the analyst desk. We'll be back.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a Purdue fan, I just want to apologize in advance for MLBD's masterpiece. I feel like that's why we're going to a game 3 here. This guy was sitting here in the chat like, all right, 95% Purdue has us in the bag. And guess what? Toronto found the angle. They found the 5%, and they find the win to push this to a game 3 as... Fun fact, both series going on right now going to a game 3. If you want to check out how Buffalo versus UIUC is going, check out twitch.tv/UofT eSports. We're going to get back focused on this action as, man, the first game, 40 minutes back and forth. This game felt like it was the same amount of action, but just compacted into 25 minutes as Purdue got off to an early lead, but ended up turning things on its head. And I want to get started with how Purdue got that early lead with UOT, actually, as we see this bot lane 5v5 coming in. It felt like the Shen early game was a huge difference.
For sure. To be honest, I can't really remember too much of the fight, so if you can see the replay, just gets a little bit of a refresher on that one.
Like, together.
There's too many things going on to focus on in this game. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, we see the engage here coming in from that Nautilus, so Sycamore tries to turn that onto Arch, but you know that Shenal is really big shield going on there. Yeah, this fight was really split, and it worked out a lot better in Purdue's favor. I think 527 committed really hard onto chasing down Arch there, who actually lived, I believe.
It's just such a chaotic fight. Like,
Yeah.
At first it looks like Purdue's winning, then Donkey with a massive flash ultimate to just blow up the rest of the team, really spread them out. And that's one of the things that I kind of liked about this Xin Zhao pick, is it's not something you see very often, but against some of these AP junglers that like to skirmish, things like the Nidalee, Xin Zhao brings a lot of value, because if you go that tankier Iceborne Gauntlet build, you can really get into the heart of these team fights, pop your ultimates, spread people all around, disrupt the team fight, and it's kind of like a Gragas in that way, where you just kind of go into the middle of everything, you just separate everybody, you cause chaos, and oftentimes don't really need the damage, sometimes just the disruption is all you need.
Yeah, and especially into all that range as well, like the Nidalee, the Jinx, that ultimate, if they're not fighting you in that arena, right, you get to negate all the damage, which ended up being really key in that fight, really key throughout the game, as Purdue, you kind of mentioned, or the fact that they were getting ahead early, things were going in their favor. The Shen was getting around the map. Valley was making a huge impact, even found a solo kill or two in the top side, but everything fell apart at this Baron, where at the 2020 mark, Dylan, with this early game comp Purdue had, it just felt like things fell apart once they tripped over their feet trying to secure this objective too early.
Yeah, don't remind me of my caster curse, but it feels like, they get this pick onto Def Ref here, which is very solid, right? They pair all of their long-range damage really well on top of the Zoe sleep from Holy Kurt, but they start up the Baron, and it's really ambitious because Clam takes a lot of damage from it. He's half HP. They're all stuck within the pit, and it seems like they're split. Are we going to engage? Are we going to finish the Baron? They don't expect UofT to have this angle from the top side. 527 with the Stride Breaker and his E, able to get direct access onto the carries, and Purdue's team composition really struggles if the Renekton is able to reach the backline and powered by Karma. You want the Shen to really be in front and tanking that damage, the Nautilus there to stop 527 from reaching the backline, but as soon as 527 gets that angle, it's just lights out for Purdue, and this is where you see the gold lead swing. UofT able to come back from 1,000 or 2,000 behind. They slingshot themselves ahead, I think like 3,000 or 4,000 gold from just that play.
For sure. And also in that fight, Zoe actually slept the Xin Zhao, he had so much tenacity that sleep lasted for, I think, less than a second. So the Zoe bubble getting onto the correct targets in that fight, I think also would have saved a few more members from Purdue. Because Xin Zhao literally was sitting there for like half a second and then just continued to chase down Valley there.
Yeah, Holy Kerp, known for his Zoe as Rebel hit on during the draft. Had a really good impact in that early game, but when the map gets taken away from her, that's where we start to see her kind of struggle as a champion, and that's really where Toronto hit their stride, because as we get into the next fight, Dylan, once Toronto got the lead, got that Baron, there was no looking back from them in this game.
Yeah, Def Ref Swain in these fights just took over the game. It was really, really fun to watch, and this is why UofT is such an exciting team, because they do have this in their back pocket, the strategy of putting Def Ref on something like Swain bottom. You can throw, something like a Karma mid, a Lulu mid, a supportive champion for Frosty, who is their team's main support, and we just see Def Ref just wreak havoc in this fight here. He flashes forward into the fight and then just runs past the charm, buffed up by the Karma, the move seed from the Shirelias. That's something that's pretty underrated. As soon as this Karma gets 2-3 items with the Shirelias, not only are you popping that active to get Def Ref moving faster, but there is that passive effect on the Shirelias where if you put a shield on top of Def Ref, you're getting bonus move speed on that shield. So pretty sure Swain is moving at like 500 or 600 move speed into a Jinx who's immobile, into a Zoe who's pretty immobile. These are just champions that cannot deal with the Swain charging straight at you.
Yeah, and once again, that malleability from Toronto that they kind of pitched to us before the tournament started, really shining, right? The fact that Def Ref, this is the 2nd out of 4 games where he's taken the Swain and has taken it in a different role just to make sure that they're able to pilot that champion and set it up for success. As I know this last fight, Horf, you were a little bit nervous at the start that Kaisa may have been caught out, but I feel like the ambulance, it wasn't being called for the Kaisa, it was being called for Purdue as the Boilermakers. They get put away in this final replay. And I kind of want you, as we go through this, you can walk through this fight, but also, once again, kind of leaning on your expertise, more knowledge on Toronto. What are your thoughts about what they were able to do in this game that kind of pushes this to that final game 3?
I think here, Sycamore was a lot more aggressive, as we saw it, and he was playing a lot he's playing Kai'Sa, which is a lot safer to be aggressive on. You have that ult, you have the Zhonya's or stopwatch. I'm not sure which one he had at this moment, but you have the ult, the invis. So Kai'Sa's a very, very safe champion to be this aggressive on, and you can see that his team was right there with the Shrelia, with the Karma, Mantra E. So it was just really good for Sukumo to be able to play such an aggressive champion, because I think just looking at how he's playing this game, I think this is a very good playstyle for him. Like, I think he's comfortable playing so aggressively. So I think this is something that UofT was able to capitalize on that Kai'Sa, on such an aggressive champion there.
And it just stinks for Purdue, because the second you give back control of this game to the side of UofT, their team composition is just so suffocating, because you don't really have the damage to deal with a Swain that is being buffed up by Karma, that has all of this, innate sustain and backline access within his kit with the pull. So as soon as you give over control and the gold lead of the game, it just gets really hard, because you don't have that many tools to get access back into the game. You can't really, force too many engages, because who is Nautilus going to engage on? Unless you find an angle onto Kai'Sa, it's going to be hard, because if you pull the Swain, well, he's got Zhonya's, he's got the Karma backing him up. So it feels like Purdue in that game, you just can't let go of the driver's seat at all. Like, you have no ability to get back into the game once things are out of your control.
And that's actually something I kind of want to hit on too, as we still have a little bit of time to talk about Game 3 coming up. It felt like Game 1, Purdue, with the Lulu support, they took the 2 scaling picks. They played a very slow, controlled game. It was hectic, but they ended up coming out on top with a 40-plus minute win. This game, they go for something drastically different. A Nautilus, Nidalee, Zoe, you're trying to play fast. The tempo of this game was very quick, but they ended up tripping over themselves. They tried to close it out. What do you expect for Game 3, and what's a way that maybe Toronto can start to get a little bit more say, a little bit more proactivity for themselves on the map? Because it still felt like they were taking the back seat as these games were getting going, both Game 1 and Game 2, Dylan.
I don't know. It feels like Purdue, if I'm Drawher, if I'm in the back room talking to the players, you just got to make sure that they're relaxed, because it is stressful to lose a game like that. Coming from a player's perspective, you feel like, oh my god, if we just don't make that Baron call, like, we're still winning the game, we have the gold lead, we're in control, like, everything's good, they were on 2 dragons. So it's really easy to get in your own head and just think like, oh my god, if we didn't do that, like, everything would be different. We'd take the series 2-0 very cleanly, but mistakes happen, and it is a best of 3. They did give themselves breathing room by winning the first game, so it's important to just come into this Game 3 with a clean mental slate, new draft, new approach to the game. The game was going well up until that point, so honestly, what they've been doing in the early game has been working, and I want to see them just make sure that they're not, too tilted or upset with themselves going into this last one.
Yeah, and Horif, time's running out. Do you have any closing thoughts as well for either of these teams going into Game 3?
I personally really loved how UofT played this game. I love the level 1 scuffle. It keeps things interesting, and really makes these keeps these players on their toes, making sure that they are able to play their level 1, their early skirmishes very well. And I think this game was a good warm up for maybe potential early skirmishes in their next games that we might end up seeing play out.
Well, we're going to have to see if we get the slow-paced or if we get the fast-paced game as we dive to Game 3. Everything is on the line for both these teams, and a spot in the round of 8 as well. Rebel, Mazel, take it away.